Hello and welcome. I'm Eric Price with LI-COR Biosciences, and in this video we'll talk about how to replace the pump inside the LI-710 Evapotranspiration Sensor. How do you know when you need to replace the pump? Well, both the M0 and M1 outputs from the sensor every 30 minutes include a diagnostic value. This diagnostic value indicates if there are a variety of issues. One of those issues would be if the pump voltage is too high, or if there is an issue with the flow rate. Now, when you have the diagnostic value of 32,769, that indicates that both the pump voltage is too high and the flow rate has an issue. If you are receiving that diagnostic value, the first thing to do would be to check to make sure that there is no blockage on the inlet or outlet of the sensor. You may need to replace the filter, clean the filter, and we describe that in a separate video. But once you've done that, and if the instrument still provides that diagnostic value, then you may need to replace the pump. The instrument already comes with one replacement pump in the spares kit, and if you've already used that, you can purchase another pump replacement kit from LI-COR. This kit includes the pump itself, some small O-rings, some screws that you may or may not need, and a hex key to perform the removal and installation. It's also a good idea to have a pair of tweezers or forceps to access maybe difficult to reach places inside the instrument. And whenever you're performing this operation, we are opening the instrument and we are close to some circuit boards, touching some circuit boards. So it's always a good idea to make sure that you're well grounded, that there's not any static discharge that's a possibility. And so we do recommend using an electrostatic discharge wristband, which would be plugged into a grounding device, just to make sure that we don't statically discharge onto the circuit boards and potentially damage them. So we will go through how to open the sensor and replace the pump. When you replace the pump, we do recommend that you perform this operation indoors. We don't want dust or dirt or insects to get into the can. So you'll bring your instrument back to the lab, and the first thing I'm going to do is put on the electrostatic discharge bracelet. Make sure that the instrument is disconnected from power and disconnect the cable. We're going to remove the can from the sensor. To do this, you'll want to grab this part, hold on to it with one hand. Make sure not to grab the transducer arms. We don't want to twist them or warp them. So I'll grab this with one hand, and then with the other hand, I will twist this can and unscrew it and remove it from the instrument. Now we can see a circuit board on one side. If you see a circuit board with several sets of wires, that is the incorrect side. We're going to be working on this circuit board that has 4 hex screws. And this is where the hex key comes into play. This is provided in the spares kit and in each pump replacement kit. I believe it's 2.5 millimeter hex screws, and we will simply remove those hex screws. You will notice there are also 4 other screws. Those are star screws. I think they have a different number of points on them, and you will leave those in place. So we're only removing these 4 hex screws on the outside. Now we will remove this circuit board and its corresponding assembly, this black piece here. All of that comes directly up. So you'll want to grab both sides of this black piece and pull directly up out of the instrument like this. you can set this aside. The pump is this small, black, rectangular shaped device. We do want to remove that. This is the pump. We'll remove this, and we will install the new one. When you install the new one, make sure that you are grabbing the corners of the square, not the inside or even the edges, but simply grabbing the corners. The pump flips downward, so the white piece, the white circular piece here, goes down into the instrument, and it will go in exactly the same way that you took the pump out. There are actually three sort of raised pieces on this black piece here, and the pump sits nicely in those pieces. If you somehow move this one way or the other, it will not sit nicely. So we do want the small metallic portion pointing upwards towards the rest of the sensor as we install this in place. It simply sits there like that. Now we will go back to this circuit board assembly. If you flip it over, you will see that there are two O-rings. One is in a circular position and one is in a rectangular position. You should just inspect these O-rings to make sure that they are not cracked or worn or dirty. Most of the time these will be fine, and so even when you're replacing the pump, you don't need to do anything with these O-rings. But if you do notice that they are dirty or cracked, you may need to replace them. This is where your tweezers or forceps come in. You may need to use them to remove the old O-rings and set those aside. Now, every pump replacement kit comes with new O-rings, and so you can place them in such a way that they stay in place. There are some small raised sections that are designed to keep the O-ring in place. However, the larger O-ring is a challenge, I will say that. So this may be difficult to replace. That's why you only need to replace it if it really needs it, not every time you replace the pump. With this O-ring, it is more of a circular O-ring that's going into a square hole, so it is a bit of a challenge. The best advice I've seen is to hold two diagonal corners of the O-ring like this, put those in place first, and then push the other two corners in as well. If you start simply on one end and push your way towards the other, it may be more of a challenge to get that in place. So make sure you start on the diagonal corners and then push down the other diagonal corners as well. Another thing that may help is to wipe down the O-ring before you put it in place. If there's any grease, that will make it more difficult to replace that O-ring. Now that we've checked the O-rings, we've put the new pump in place, we need to set this circuit board assembly back into place, and there is a bit of a trick with this as well. There are some pins right here that go into some holes on the circuit board right here. We need to make sure that we line up the pins with the holes so that none of the pins get broken or bent. How do we do this? Well, instead of going directly down like we did when we pulled directly up, we actually want to put the circuit board in at an angle. So kind of at an angle like this, where we are angled towards the white part of the can. You'll see that there is a foam piece on the back of this board, and that will allow us to kind of center and adjust the circuit board as needed. So we're going to line it up, and you may want to stand over the sensor head as you do this to make sure that the pins line up with their connectors. You should feel it fall into place very easily. If it doesn't fall into place easily, you may not have lined up the pins with the holes, and so you definitely don't want to force it into place. It should easily slide into place. So I'll show that again. You do want to make sure that everything's lined up and push gently down. Now we will put the 4 screws back into place, and you may see that the circuit board kind of has some give to it. It's kind of floating in place, so we will want to tighten down those hex screws. And you do want to alternate. You don't want to tighten one hex screw down completely before doing the other ones. You do kind of want to alternate between each screw, kind of like if you were replacing a flat tire or tuning a drum. Now that we have the hex screws in place, everything is put back, and we can add the can again. Make sure to give it basically two full revolutions, 2 turns, and again grabbing the base part of the sensor, not the arms. We're going to tighten that down just about 2 full turns. And now we have replaced the pump in our LI-710. Once you've done that, you'll need to reinstall the instrument in the field, connect it to power, connect it to your data logger, and let it run for at least 30 minutes. You'll want to check that data to make sure that the pump is actually working, and to make sure that that diagnostic value goes back down to 0. Don't leave the field until you've verified that the instrument is working. We hope that you found this video helpful and informative. We have many other videos and resources about the LI-710 and other instruments on our website. And as always, feel free to contact us or your local distributor if you have any questions.